Welcome to Politics Done Right. Good morning. Good morning, Houston. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Happy Memorial Day. Sounds kind of interesting to say Happy Memorial Day, but that it is. But I tell you what, we start with a poem in honor The Unknown Dead by Elizabeth Robbins Berry. Above their rest, there is no sound of weeping, only the voice of songbirds thrills the air. Unknown their graves, yet they are in God's keeping. There are none missing from his tender care. He knows each hallowed mound, and at his pleasure marshals the sentinels of earth and sky, or their repose kind nature heaps her treasure, formed by soft winds which round them gently. We thank all those who served the country, whether in war or peace. And let's remember something that is extremely important for all to know. Serving a country is not solely picking up arms for the country when arms need to be, though it's important. Serving the country is not serving just during war. Serving a country doesn't just mean killing. Serving a country means just that. All of you out there who are working, all of you who are making our economy what it is, all of you who are feeding the poor, helping the needy, saving the sick, making sure they can get around this country as best they can, even with all the tribulations out there. While Memorial Day has been forever for those who pick up arms, Memorial Day should be as well for you. Because fighting for what's good is not just picking up arms. It is just that, fighting for what's good. Good morning to the entire Houston metropolitan area, to entire East Texas. Good morning to the entire country. Good morning to the entire world. Yay! Guess what? Fund Drive is over. We can have a full show complete without saying, well, we still want to tell you you can still go to kpft.org and throw a few dollars. We were short by about $18,000 or so. We know that you guys are going to come through for us this week in the back end, but that's done with. Good morning, Howard Reynolds. Good morning, Jack Van Beber. How's everybody doing in the studio?
Well, good morning, Egberto.
We're doing pretty good here this morning. A little sleep in the eyes, but the tin cans are holding up, so we're going to do a show.
We are going to do a show, and oh, bless you, my friend. Bless you, bless you, bless you. But anyway,
yeah.
That sounds good. That sounds good. That just means we're alive, folks. That just means we're alive, and we're waking folks up, right? We're waking folks up. Anyway, folks, look, we have a great show scheduled for you today. The show is titled Texas Activist Challenges Anti-Trans Dem. But what else? Paxton is impeached. Yes, we mean the AG Paxton is impeached. So what? Wallace and Glaude on GOP freedom. Texas activist Ashton P. Woods is challenging Representative Shawn Thierry, who teamed with the GOP to pass an anti-trans bill. Second, what does AG Paxton's impeachment mean? Nicolle Wallace and Eddie Glaude, they talk a bit about Republican freedom. Or is it really freedom? We're going to talk about that. But you know what I always tell my folks, always tell you guys, this show belongs to whom again? I'm listening. This show belongs to you. So in as much as I prepare for this show every single night before we come out here to make sure that we have something of substance to serve, the only thing of substance that's really important here is what you say that, you may call here and change the subject if you so desire. You may tell me, the things that are really important in our minds right now is X, Y, and Z. And we try our best to oblige. Again, this is your show. This is your program. Call in 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. In a little bit, I will be playing the interview that I did with Ashton, but I just kind of want to preface that. Many times when we see the legislature occurring, when we see the legislature going through what the legislature is going through, sometimes we sit back and think we don't have any choice but to oblige, to acquiesce to what they're doing. I'm here to tell you that's not the case. And the person the interview that I'm going to talk about here, it's someone who's going to tell you otherwise. It's someone who's going to tell you, hey, I am watching what's occurring in the Texas legislature. And you know what? I don't like what's going on, not because of me, but because it's harming some of my fellow brothers and sisters around Houston, around Texas, around the country. And I'm going to do something about it. I am going to run against the representative that is in my district that is harming others, that's teaming up with others to cause pain to others. And that is what democracy looks like. Democracy means that you are engaged. Democracy means that you are going to say, as Howard would tell you, you vote, you engage, you make sure that things are right. All right, let's bring Kyle in real quickly before I start with this interview. Carl, how are you doing this morning?
Hi, Mr. Egberto, but this is Kyle.
This is Kyle, the next president of the United States, right?
Yes, sir. Hoping to be, though.
Hoping to be the next president of the United States. Well, Kyle, I'm just here to give you that positive affirmation before I go to the interview, the subsequent interview. So this morning, I just have to tell you, good morning. You stay strong and you keep engaged. Okay, my brother?
Thank you, Mr. Egberto. But what is the email address again? I did not get it last time.
No problem at all, sir. The email address is kpft@politicsdoneright.com. kpft@politicsdoneright.com. You have a beautiful rest of your Memorial Day, Mr. Kyle, and we will be talking. Take care, my brother.
Yes, sir. We will. Thank you.
All right. Anyway, folks, before I get started, please remember, I'm decidedly progressive. I believe in engaging, listening, and learning from everyone, irrespective of their political ideology. You will never, ever, ever get disrespected by calling into this show. In fact, we aim to ask you to please do call in because, like I said, this is your show and there's no program without your engagement. There's no program without knowing what you want, what you claim to want, what you want to want. I believe in coexistence, civil coexistence. Yesterday, as I started writing the show, I was in Starbucks and I was introduced to this guy. One of the baristas introduced me to this guy and we started talking and the conversation was probably supposed to be a 5-minute conversation. It turned out to be, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half conversation. This was a super conservative guy, a Republican, etc. And we had such a great conversation. By the end of the day, it was like, we realize, folks, we are in fact in the same boat. We just have to be cognizant of those who are pushing us apart. And that's what we're about. This real progressive guy could coexist, laugh, talk, everything with this very conservative guy and even come to some commonalities. That's what it's all about. If we can do that, those on top pushing us apart cannot continue to win. Notice I say cannot continue to win because guess what, folks? They're winning right now. They are winning right now. That's why the income inequality persists. That's why wealth disparity persists, because they're winning. But as we smarten up, they can't continue winning. There are many ways to listen to Politics Done Right. Tune in at 90.1 FM, of course. Turn that dial to 90.1 FM. Download the TuneIn application from your Android and Apple stores. Load it up, look for KPFT, and listen on the stream. Of course, you can go to kpft.org and hit that listen button, and you can listen to you can stream the show. You can watch the show as well at facebook.com/KPFT Houston. Again, that is facebook.com/KPFT Houston. And of course, you can watch it on YouTube by going to politicsdoneright.tv. Politicsdoneright.tv. Please call the show live, 713-526-5738, extension numero dos, extension number 2, with your comments or whatever you want to talk about. Every comment is, in fact, appreciated. Please drop me an email at kpft@politicsdoneright.com with suggestions for future topics, just like I just told Kyle, who wants to be president of the United States. Anyhow, folks, 713-526-5738, extension number 2. Now, let's go ahead and listen to somebody who decided that he was going to run after the Congress or the representative in his district decided to do wrong by his fellows, neighbors, relatives, friends, etc. Here we go. Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. After the current Democratic representative of the district chose to align herself with a Republican sect in the Texas legislature promoting hate against some in her district, she chose to become a willful ally to deny them the care they needed. The only way to ensure politicians support the will of the people is to challenge them in the primaries. A seat is owned by no one. It belongs to the people. In that light, community organizer and political activist Ashton P. Woods decided to put himself on the block again to serve the interests of the entire District 146. Welcome to Politics Done Right, Ashton. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am trying to get things that I understand now that you have a great announcement you made this week.
Yeah. I actually announced last Friday that I will run against her, and I just put out a fundraising ask via Act Blue and raised about $10,000 in less than 3 days to run against Shawn Thierry.
I wonder why. I tell you what, let's get into that. Let's really get into this. You ran against Thierry in 2020, correct?
That's correct.
And both of you claim that you were there to support the will of the people of your district, correct?
That's correct.
Recently, Thierry, the person who's in that district now, aligned herself with Republicans to actually harm some of our residents in this district. Why don't you explain the situation?
Well, first of all, let me tell you about who I am for those of you who are going to be watching and listening. My name is Ashton P. Woods. I'm the founder of Black Lives Matter Houston. I've been in Houston since I was 20 years old. I came with Katrina. I started the first Gay Straight Alliance in a high school in New Orleans, all Black high school. And I've been an activist ever since for Black lives and everybody for that matter. I'm not one of those all lives matter people, but I believe that allyship, like Shawn portrayed herself to be, Representative Thierry portrayed herself to be, is to be an ally to folks that you demand allyship from. So you can't say Black Lives Matter without being an ally to other people. So for supporting people who don't look like you, who might be AAPI or Latino, brown, Black and brown, right? And so the district, the reason why I say this is that this district is made up of so many different types of people. And her vote for SB 900, SB 14, and I think 2751, the will of people did not tell her to vote to remove trans-affirming care, gender-affirming care from trans kids, and to spout unscientific, not proven data to support her claims when she could have just said that she was anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ. Now, when I ran against her in 2020, when the primary hit, She beat me by 4,000 points when I primaried her. That was a strong showing for somebody who only raised $7,500 compared to the $100,000+ that she had and spent for the primary on her end, right? So I overperformed her. I put out 5,000 push cards and I got 5,695 votes from 5,000 push cards and 150 signs, yard signs that I bought from donations from all over the country, mostly in district. And what I have to show for it is this. I had all the endorsements. I had the LGBT caucus endorsement, and I believe that she was resentfully punishing the LGBT community for supporting me over her back in 2020, but also recognize that she's always been this person, that she's always been homophobic and anti-LGBTQ. She's been with the Houston Baptist Ministers Association alignment. If you're familiar with them, they voted.
Yes, I remember when we had the
equal rights ordinance.
Exactly.
We almost had an equal rights ordinance in 2014. In 2015, it was on the ballot. It got voted down, and Houston lost a lot of business because of the anti-LGBT rhetoric and the no men and women restrooms BS that they were spouting. And here it is again. She voted to ban trans athletes from playing on the sports team with the gender identity that they're currently going by. They keep putting this as a groomer thing with the bill for gender affirming care, where Texas Children's Hospital just announced today that they're going to go ahead and stop doing the gender affirming care after their data got leaked to the Attorney General and the governor recently via someone who hasn't been identified yet, and basically putting people in danger. That's a violation of HIPAA. That's a violation of federal law, privacy laws, based on from what I understand, your medical bill of rights.
Right, absolutely.
And the medical bill of rights came from the protests that happened in 1986 that coined the phrase "nothing about us without us." HIV positive people are the people who came up with the medical bill of rights that you benefit from today, and that was violated. Those trans kids, their rights were violated, their privacy rights were violated by that. And so you have people. I have a supporter who donated to me recently, who wouldn't take a refund back because she has to flee because her child was on that list of people who was leaked to the government, the state government. And they have to leave and go to another state because they think they're in danger. And so that's why I am running against Shawn Thierry, among other things. You're banning a book, adding to the anti-CRT critical race theory, which is a phrase that is non-existent, is not real, is made up, just like any other disinformation that's come from a big lie. And so now you've taken and you've done something, you claim...
Wait a minute. Are you telling me she voted against voted with that CRT crap as well?
No, what I said was that she voted the gender queer ban. The book ban is in addition to what was already passed as far as the CRT bill. Because remember, the CRT bill is critical race theory that they claim was supposedly about making people feel guilty, but what it really was about erasing Black people, erasing brown people, AAPI people, and Latino people. When I say brown and Black people, because there are Black people in all of those groups, right? So when you think about it, most of the books that have been banned under under Florida law and under other states that have a similar bill that she voted for, under this book ban that was based on this book called Genderqueer, most of those books are written by Black people. This is a race issue. And she claims that she's being racially attacked by this, but her privilege and her bias as a cisgender straight woman who has light skin privilege and presents very culpable with white people is saying that it's basically throwing a rock from a rented glass house and saying, "Oh, look, you're attacking me. You're a vicious or vile activist coming at me because I voted this way. I'm only trying to protect the children." But the thing is if you voted for that book, you're not trying to protect the children. You're trying to hurt someone because you're taking care of them. Let me
stop you there because I'm reading the state. She had a statement that she put out called "A Statement on Voting to Raise the age to 18 for gender modification treatments and surgeries. And here's her major reason, and it's in her first paragraph. It says, after hearing from constituents, listening to stakeholders, and reviewing the scientific data in this country and around the globe, I am assured that this position is rooted in sound policy, which supports the health, development, and overall well-being of minors. That's not a true statement.
No, that's not a true statement.
That statement also says stakeholders. The only stakeholders involved is a doctor, the person going through the gender, the personal doctor, the person going through the gender change prescriptions, etc., and the parents. Nobody else.
That's right.
Those are the things. And if you're going through these different, if you're the doctor giving the medical treatment, if you're the parent allowing the medical treatment, and if you are the kid receiving the medical treatment after going through the psychological rigor that you go through, those are the only stakeholders that matter.
Well, yeah, and the scientific data that she's citing, she can look at the DSM-5, which is the federal government's database on mental health. I'm a sociology student. She's a law student. She should know better than to spout information that she couldn't verify herself. This is, as I stated before, this is based on misinformation, part of the big lie under Trump. It's the same thing as the election. It's all tied together, connect the dots. She's supporting an agenda under a Democratic banner by attacking the LGBTQ community when she doesn't realize that there are black LGBT people who live in her district who have voted for her repetitively, who she is hurting, who she did not contact as stakeholders, who have tried to reach out to her, who she has deliberately ignored, who she was called out on Twitter for ignoring, actually, as a matter of fact. And when I was talking to KXAN in Austin, I was told by the reporter that the manager said that, well, she was censored by the Maryland Democrats, but the Maryland Democrats has a lot of black membership. They just can't show up to the meetings, just like they can't show up to the Texas legislature. They go to work every day just like you and me. They can't choose between the bus fare, the light bill, and the dollar menu babysitter to go to the Texas legislature like most of the people who did not look like me or you showed up did. That's the reality of it. But the other thing is that same effort that they put forth in claiming racism and, it's just the white people trying to do that dog whistle BS about erasing the fact that black LGBT people actually exist, that homophobia, that transphobia, all that anti-LGBT madness could be squashed by one thing. Every state representative has an office that the state requires. If a constituent can't make it to the Texas Capitol, they are required by law to allow that constituent to testify remotely from the district office. She has a district office in the Sunnyside Multi-Service Center that she just opened, the new one. And so where was she at when those constituents needed to be notified? I get emails from all of the representatives all the time, a weekly email talking about what happened this week and that and the other, but who has time to check email when a lot of times they talk about rural people who don't have data and internet like that and are doing things on the phone just like that? This is the hood. I'm in Sunnyside. A lot of people use the internet from their phone. A lot of people have limited data on their phone. How are they going to know to do this? How are they going to know where to go? That's outreach. When was the last time she had a forum talking to constituents instead of stakeholders like Max Miller, who voted who was a part of the Houston Ministers Pact that I was talking about earlier, to come out against the Houston Equal Rights Ordinance, which would have gave us some type of reform to talk about being discriminated against for being black, LGBT, or otherwise anything, woman, man, regardless of what we identified as some type of protection. We still don't have that protection to this day. And so almost 10 years later, in 2023, we don't have those protections, and she's still taking pictures to this day. Right now, in a picture, I just tweeted about it, like right before I got on with you, with Max Miller, the same biggest who were talking about to the LA Times they can't support same-sex marriage. Well, I was at the Supreme Court with Jim Obergefell when same-sex marriage was being heard. I was in the room when we found out that I had the right, and millions of people had the right to finally get married because of Obergefell v. Hodges. And so when people like her erase people like me, it sparks something in me to run, not just because of the LGBT issue, but because I want to know why we don't have sidewalks in this area, why we don't have fire hydrants.
Let me stop you right there. Hold on.
Like that.
It is important for people to see that if their representative, irrespective of party, is not doing what is necessary to serve the people, in fact, on the program today, that's what I try to tell people. They say that the government doesn't work for them. The government will work for you if you become the government as it was intended to be. And right now, what I see you doing, Mr. Woods, is that you're saying the government did not perform, your representative did not perform, and you put yourself up on the block to serve. So my next question and last question to you is, what will you do if elected into that position?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is what I'm going to do while I'm running is I'm going to go talk to the people. I'm going to have forums quarterly or how often as I can to talk to the people about what they need. I know that if I stepped outside right now, there's not a sidewalk that I could walk on from my front door off of Scott and Reed where I live. Right? There are no fire hydrants. Those little blue hydrants that are around Houston, those are not fire hydrants. Those are water mains. There's streets that don't have stop signs or traffic lights, and people fly by, get hit. Those ditches you can fall into when it rains and get swept away because they're so deep. We need people to understand that there's an infrastructure issue, there's a public safety issue. Not policing, but infrastructure as a public safety issue and a quality of life issue. If we give people the things that they need, like making sure that we work with the grocery stores that are in the area, or the corner stores in the area to make sure, for example, the items that they're selling are not past expiration, and to make sure that we have facilities for people to get deodorant, tampons, different toiletries that they might need so that they can go to work and be fresh, right? Thinking about in this district about how I live right down the street from a high school, and I hear a police siren about 3 or 4 times every morning around the same time, around 5 a.m. And they just do it to intimidate people, right? And thinking about the idea that same school down the street is a black school, which is something that I wanted to get into. The idea that she wanted to push metal detectors, which is something that is something I'm against. I'm for the panic button bill, but think about it. That's the school to prison pipeline tie-in. Black schools with metal detectors, and then you want to arm teachers. And I wrote about that. I can send you the link to that too. Who's aiming at who? A teacher from Conroe or from Richmond, Texas, outside of Houston, could not have any relationship to any of the community of the children who go to that school. It could easily pull a gun and shoot a student because he looked at them the wrong way, right? And so we have to think about how we are coming from a place of privilege. If we are coming from a place of privilege, like I feel like she is, in context of her bills, so she's not thinking about how she promoted maternal mortality rates without talking about trans masculine people. When we are talking about people who exist as they are, you're taking their life chances away from them. You're wrecking the quality of life, and people are having to leave because of it. And I'm voting against her and running against her to let her know that she can't do that she cannot align with these Republicans and hurt people who look like her while saying Black Lives Matter. She didn't even show up to the Uvalde event that we did last year. And it's a year later, right?
Right.
So you think about how all these things work hand in hand. It's about the cruelty. The cruelty is the point. The education, about the book bans, is about erasing people, queer people, people of color, which both can be one and the same intersectionally, which is why I'm also running to teach that you can't separate Black from LGBTQ. You can't separate Latino from LGBTQ. You can't separate woman from LGBTQ. You can't separate man. You can't separate anybody because you got somebody in your family who's trans, gay, or bisexual. You got somebody who's Afro-Latino in your family. You got somebody who's Afro-Asian. We are everywhere. We are a diaspora, and we have to be respected in that way. And I'm running to make sure that all of the people in the district, whether they agree with me or not, are represented.
Ashton P. Wood, activist and community organizer. Thank you so kindly. And now candidate in District 146. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you for having me.
before I go any further with this part, because when I got the notice from Ashton that he was running, and I've known Ashton for quite some time, there's a whole lot of activism that is quite powerful here in Houston. So as soon as I got an email stating that he was running, I said, I want to talk to him. And by the way, I do want to talk to Representative Shawn Thierry, the person that he's running against. I sent her some tweets, etc. I would love to hear, you always want to hear all sides of every story. But let me tell you, with all the issues that Ashton talked about, I realized something. When representatives get up there to Houston or get up there to DC or get up to wherever they are, right? Sometimes what they tend to do, and this goes for politicians that are there as politicians and not there. And by the way, I believe in politicians. I believe in the function of politicians. I revere and respect politicians. It's important, because they are the ones who are going to dictate policy or create policies to serve, to make sure that all are being served. So there's, just like we've made several words diseased, is what many have done to politicians. And I don't want the word politician to be diseased. I want the word politicians to mean a profession that goes out there and serves the community. With everything that Ashton said, right? One of above and beyond the trans issue, because there, for somebody in the trans domain, it is materially it's something material to them. But for those who have empathy, I think it's our responsibility to try to see things through their eyes. For those who are, whomever you are, I don't care who you are, whoever tells you that they are aggrieved, I think empathy dictates that we try to see things through the eyes of not just how we were reared, not just the things that we know. Because I've told my story so often about when I dispel some of my own prejudices, whether it be the homophobia prejudice, the sexism prejudice, and anything, one has to be humble enough to say, I was wrong in my beliefs, or I was less empathetical that I should have been. So it is all about empathy. But now that politician that goes out there to represent a particular district, and you hear Ashton talk about getting out of his home to a place where has no sidewalks, getting out to a home where there are just ditches for drainage. And we did a story, I guess, a couple weeks ago that kind of illustrated where in Houston, where you find open pit drainage as opposed to other parts of Houston. Why isn't that representative? Instead of teaming up on issues that deprive people of their rights or remove some of their rights or remove some of their medical care, why isn't that representatives doing things that materially affect her entire district? And those are some of the questions if and when I get the honorable representative to come on to the program. And this goes all over the country, folks. This is the thing that we should be doing all over the country, is asking the questions. Why is it that you're out there representing your particular district, and that which really afflicts your district, it's not something that you're materially working towards solving? Instead of going on to the bandwagon, the thing right now is banning books, finding a way to hurt on trans, I mean, all these kinds of things that we shouldn't. Those are questions that I have. And I think it's important for all of us. So 713-526-5738. Please give us a call, extension number 2. Call with whatever you want to talk about. You want to discuss this particular subject we just had. You want to move it on to something else. You agree, you disagree. It doesn't really matter, because Houston needs to hear, America needs to hear, the district needs to hear, the state needs to hear. 713-526-5738, extension number 2. The second subject of the day, or unless you call and change it, is as follows. Attorney General Paxton was impeached this weekend. And we kind of had a feeling it would have occurred. When a committee votes 5-0 unanimously to move your case for impeachment, you have to ask why. You have to ask why. What exactly did Ken Paxton do? And the truth of the matter is, by the way, Ken Paxton is the attorney. For those who don't understand, they just hear impeachment, etc., but don't understand exactly what an AG does, Attorney General does. They're the state's attorney. If a company needs to be sued for throwing crap into the river, that's what your Attorney General does. If people's rights are violated through federal law or other law, they handle the suits, etc. But it so happened that this Attorney General, 1 year after being in office, he was already suspect. You know, the Texas Tribune says as follows: Attorney General Ken Paxton, who has been at the center of several scandals, was impeached on 20 articles of impeachment by the Texas State House Saturday. I mean, they worked on the weekends to get this job done. He is now suspended from his office pending a Texas State Senate trial in which senators act as jurors. Paxton, the state's top lawyer and one of its most powerful and controversial Republicans, has faced criminal investigations, legal battles, and accusation of wrongdoing for years. But after he requested $3.3 million in taxpayer funds to end a lawsuit by former staffers who accused him of on-the-job retaliation, the Texas House General Investigative Committee began looking into accusations of wrongdoing. The Texas House of Representatives holds the power to impeach, and the Senate must conduct a trial. And so it's up to Dan Patrick now, our lieutenant governor, to decide when the trial for Ken Paxton would begin. This guy started with securities fraud, folks. That is how he started his tenure the very first time he served us as our Attorney General. Who starts a job under that cloud? But let me tell you what is most disconcerting about all of this. He was voted back into office this the third time. When ideology beats integrity, when ideology beats morality, it's the same thing that we see with Donald Trump. Doesn't matter that he's now not just alleged to have violated women. He has now been found to have violated women, or in this case, a woman, for which he has to pay millions. We all have documented that he ripped off 501c3s, even his own. We all know that he created universities, a university that wasn't really a university, but he ripped people's monies off to give them the semblance of it being some sort of accredited school. We can go on and on of wrongdoing, hurting people. And there's a sect in our society because of our ideological bent and ideological cancer that continues to keep some in office. Again, there has been a soup created that allowed many of us to know we shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z, but still do it because of ideological reason. Ken F on the internet says, "Hola, ¿cómo estás, mi amigo? Estoy muy bien, señor. Muchísimas gracias por estar escuchando y mirando el programa." Thank you so kindly for listening and watching the program. This program, of course, is yours. And without you, there's none. So please, if you have anything to add to the discussion before I go to the next subject, give us a call, 713-526-5738, 526-5738. Let me put Howard on the spot here before I move on to see if Howard wants to add anything to the discussion at all. Brother Howard, and how are you doing, sir?
Yes, we're doing fine back here at the studio. And the only thing that I would add is they're taking the right approach. Run against the person that's doing the harm. Run against them. Get some votes. Get active. You know, make it a grassroots thing, because grassroots things do take off. So if you see something, say something. Get in touch with your representative. Say, I've got a voter card here. Do you want to remain in office? Vote them out. I don't want to get on my soapbox this morning because it's your show.
Well, no. Let me tell you something. No, that's not. That's a false statement, Howard. I'm sorry. That's a false statement. Okay. It's our show. It's the people's show, really, and I mean that. You know that.
Well, you know how passionately I feel about getting out and voting and making your voice heard, because you got to do it. You just got to do it. And Memorial Day of all days, those are the people who died for your right to vote. How dare you not vote?
Exactly.
How dare you not vote? Honor those people, because they didn't get to live their lives. They didn't get to, have children. Some of them didn't get to have children. Some of them left children behind. They didn't get to raise their children. They fought for your right to vote. Now go do it and vote these people out, or vote these people in. So there you go.
Exactly right. But before I move on, I just want to give Jack Van Beber a word here, because Jack sent me, it wasn't a poem, it was a long sort of an essay by text. Hey, the longest text I get is usually from my brother called Jack Van Beber. And so, Jack, I hope you have your text. I hope you remembered what you sent me. But you had some interesting thoughts. How Howard just brought up Memorial Day. These people that have fought for us for freedoms, etc., for the right that some of us don't take advantage of. But you actually added to the discussion when you started with your text that says, the bad thing about soldier hero is maybe he didn't die for freedom after all. What did you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is, war is business by other means to me. It's more about resource extraction, about controlling resources and people. So I don't want to demean the soldier at all, his effort, but what I'm saying is, we honor our soldiers and we honor what they do, but what we're told they're doing may not be the real reason that they've gone to war and risked their lives.
Yep.
Jack, I want to hold you right there, because I want to tie that in with what Howard just said about voting, about taking the responsibility. We today honor our soldiers. Today's Memorial Day, and we're honoring our soldiers. But when we tie into what Howard mentioned about voting, it is so important that we realize what you just said, Jack, about what are they fighting for. We honor them, but those who sent them there are the ones we, the people, put into power. And if we find out that we, the people, put into power those who pretty much have demeaned the lives of those who are out there to serve, that's on us. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, in that little piece I was talking about, how the soldier lays down his life for freedom, is one thing. But if the soldier is having his life taken away from him for profit or power, that's a whole nother.
And that is the core of why I wanted to talk about what you sent me, because that is exactly how it is, sir. Exactly as you just stated there.
Yes,
he is going there for the right reason, but he's going there to defend the country. But is he doing it on false premises? It's like the person who well, I won't use a religion example, but so anyway, I wanted to highlight what you sent me, Jack, because it really touched me as I read it, and I'm like, Jack hits the nail on the head. All right, brother.
Absolutely.
Yes. He hit the nail on the head. So I mean, I think that was an important. So thank you for sending that out, my brother. That was a good piece right there. But anyhow, so Paxton got impeached, and now if you notice, the governor is quite silent about it. And let me give you an explanation as to why he is silent. Paxton got voted out by 120 something votes. Again, here it is. 120 something votes to 20 something votes. In other words, overwhelmingly impeached. And so far, the governor has said absolutely nothing. One should ask why. And before I go to Raymond, I'm coming to you right now. The reason why, there is a certain group of people that still have the support of and those are the people that the governor needs to continue with the ruckus that he's doing. So for him to come out and assign a new attorney general while this trial goes on, he may get the wrath of the absolute right. He doesn't know what to do right now. So he's quiet. He hasn't said a word. So right now, Texas, you have no AG, no official AG. Raymond, come on in, my friend. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. You know, I was calling about your anti-Donnie show.
My anti-Donnie show. Okay, why don't you turn the radio down a little bit, my dear friend, and then we can go ahead and talk with whatever you want to say. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, you know, why JPFT has anti-Donnie shows, I don't know who you think you're persuading, but as far as schools go, how many people do you think went bankrupt because of Donald Trump's bogus university?
Okay.
Take a wild guess. A couple thousand?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Okay. How many people are in perpetual want of going bankrupt because of Joe Biden's anti-bankruptcy law that kept people who took out loans like when they were 18, getting out of high school, hoping to do something good, and are saddled with debt for life? You know, I think people have to take a good look at why we got Donnie and the right-wing pigs, war pigs, like Joe Biden. Like Joe Biden, who was 100% behind Iraq. He was a Dick Cheney Democrat as the head of the CFR. He wanted to bomb Belgrade in the manner, his words, of Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. He's 100% behind his mentor, is Brzezinski, Zebig, whose maybe greatest quote under Carter was that Muslim terrorists are a construct of the CIA.
Raymond, first of all, I want to thank you for calling, first of all. And not only I want to thank you for calling, I want to tell you that there's a large percentage of what you just said that is actually correct. All right?
It's 100% correct. You tell me what isn't correct.
Sure, that's why we're having a dialogue here.
What isn't correct?
Okay, let me just say, first of all.
I'm partly correct. Well, tell me what was incorrect about what I just said.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this, and I ask you this with respect. Let's talk. I'll listen to you.
Respect. You tell me what was partly
sir, you have to give me a chance to answer you. Like I completely listened to you, right? I mean, we don't have to rush this, or we don't have to do that. We can have a civil conversation, correct?
You tell me that I'm partly correct. Tell me what's
incorrect. and that's where I'd like to go, but I'd like to do it in an organized.
Tell me what was incorrect about the war pig Biden in the White House.
First of all, Trump came about. You are correct that Trump came.
I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about Biden.
No, you're talking. Wait a minute. You actually you did start out the conversation with Donnie. That's how you started.
And you had no idea about how many people went bankrupt under Trump University. So
Yes.
now that you have an idea, we know that millions are bankrupt perpetually, can't claim bankrupt, but are broke because of Biden's anti-bankruptcy bill.
Actually, that is not. Let me explain a few things to you.
Bill.
Sir, the way let me ask you something before we continue. Let me ask you something, Raymond. Let me ask you this, Raymond. Okay, one of the things that the reason we get into the fiddle that we're in right now, right, is because folks rile each side up, like you are sort of riled up when you're talking to me right now.
I've never voted Republican in 50 years.
Sir.
You're the pretending that somehow Joe Biden and these sold-out corporatist Democrats are going to change one GD thing. They're not. They didn't.
Raymond.
In wages.
Listen, let me tell you something, Raymond. Do you want a successful country or not? Yes or no?
Hey, what kind of question is that? I'm still asking for what I was wrong about.
Again, what I'm trying to do is before I even answer your question,
like Joe Biden, I want to give billions in weapons in mass. We wonder why people are getting shot up in schools. Look what we do. Billions in weapons.
Raymond, you're not calling for a conversation. You're calling just to put your point of view out.
I'm asking for what I was wrong about. You questioned my correctness about Joe Biden, and you
so then. Be quiet and listen.
Tell me what was wrong.
Be quiet and listen. That's how we don't listen when and I'm not
understand respect. You said I was partly correct. You tell me what was incorrect. You respect me. You be honest.
Raymond, I tell you, Raymond, I try to have conversations, right? And I'm not going to I won't let your anger dictate the way the conversation flows. If you want to have a civil conversation, we will. If you want to simply be on one side shouting, I don't do that. Call Hannity. Call one of these other guys. I have civil conversation. Do you want to have a civil conversation or not? It's that simple. Do you want one or not?
He hung up.
Okay, good. Well, we won't look. The thing about, and I won't go there. I won't get involved, folks, at all. I entertain every side, absolutely every side. What I will not do is have a shouting match against each other, because I don't do any service to the rest of the audience by us just going at each other that way. That's not how it works. He had a statement about Donald Trump and about what the negatives he does versus what Biden does. And the thing about the way he talks, and Johnny, I'm coming to you in a second. The difference here is this, right? When you start, when you have partial truths, which he does have, what created the MAGA right wing, etc., is a lot of stuff that, the people purportedly on the left are doing, but it's not the whole story, and you have to answer it in a calculated way. I am not going to answer it under the pretense that he comes across, Biden is bad, because that's not how it goes. If I had to compare Biden to Trump is a lot more evil than Biden could be, and I can enumerate them one at a time. I won't do it now, but I want to throw it to Howard before I go to Johnny. Go, Howard.
I think a lot of people have wondered how Donald Trump became such a figure of make America great again. Well, that's what he promised. I don't think that he delivered on it. But the Make America Great Again appealed to the disenfranchised middle-income folks who were being crushed.
Right.
Getting out of jobs.
Yes.
Jobs were being sent overseas. So that's what his appeal it was. Over Hillary. Hillary said she didn't say anything what she was going to do. Her campaign is, I like children and I like puppies. So elect me as president. Well, no, we like puppies and children too, but I don't think that's going to make a good president. A presidential candidate that says, I am going to bring home jobs. We're going to fix what's wrong with the economy. We're going to make sure that everybody is semi-prosperous. And the disenfranchised middle-income folks are going, well, this guy, let's take a chance on him. Well, you took a chance, you paid your money and took your chances, and this is what you got.
Exactly.
So,
And, Raymond, Howard Raymond, I understand Raymond's frustration. Unfortunately, you have to have when you're frustrated, you make bad choices, right? And you have to learn how to, and that's the reason I try to have civil conversations with all sides, because, I understand what he's saying, but he's saying it in the wrong context, and he's given accolades where they don't belong and blame also where it's only partially belong. But let's go to Johnny, because we only have like 2 minutes left. So Johnny, come on in.
Bring old Johnny in. Johnny, how you doing, man?
No headaches this weekend.
Great.
Oh, so you listen to this show to get one?
No, I get headaches from Republicans and that last caller. What a sharp contrast between your first caller, Kyle, who's lost and wants to do good, and this last guy who hates KPFT and libs. That was obvious in the way he started off his call. He was contentious, and that's all he was. He wasn't interested in an honest discourse. He said things that sounded true that I would have to fact check. Why? Because of the way he started his call. When you trolls and you right-wingers and pretend to not be right-wingers, calling KPFT, you raising your voice and screaming the same point over and over again doesn't buy you any purchase with people like me. No, you haven't convinced anybody. You didn't create a good argument. Why? Because you were screaming the entire time. That doesn't go well for people like me. That makes me want to turn you off.
There you go, Johnny. Johnny.
Why don't you give Kyle contact information for the guy who's running in District 142?
146.
146? Yeah, I think you should encourage Kyle to call you back when you get that contact information and share it with Kyle so he can be a volunteer for the guy running in office locally, because you got to learn to walk before you start running and jumping.
Thank you, Johnny, for calling. I got to go now because Howard is going to kick me out in a minute. So let me give my kind of a closer. Thank you for calling. Thank you for listening. Folks, this show sometimes can be too short for the things that I want to talk about. But I don't want you all to hate on Brother Raymond who just called, okay? Because that is what we have fomented in this country, that kind of a discourse. And what I do is I try to keep that even keel, that I say I won't address or answer to that type of discourse. Anybody who wants to talk, you can call and fuss and disagree and whatever you want to do. It is your right and you will be respected. But what I won't do is get into a shouting match with absolutely anybody. This is not Hannity. This is not Rush Limbaugh. That's not the kind of show we have here. What we have is a thoughtful show who believes in people, who loves everybody. I don't care where you're from, what you are. But we are going to treat each other when we have this program with respect. Everybody who calls into this show will know they will gain respect, but also I respect the audience and will not continue that type of a framing. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.